She's Myers.
Cold weather is here, but that doesn't mean it has to be cold inside. At G&B Energy, we provide clean and efficient propane to heat your water heater, warm your home, and cook your meals, even when the power's out. We are a family-owned and North Carolina-grown business known for fair prices and expert service. Visit G&B Energy today on Intercraft Drive in Statesville or gnbenergy.com. G&B Energy, home of the $480 Rinnai tankless water heater. Restrictions apply.
Oh boy, hey everyone. Happy Monday. It's time to get your daily fill of sports. Woo! Mondays! You know what's good about Mondays? Nothing. I'm joking. We get to talk about the NASCAR Cup Series. Yeah, Cup Series, Xfinity Series, Trucks, ARCA. All of them were in Indianapolis this weekend. Now we had the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series on the big track. ARCA and Trucks were on the, I guess we'll call it little track. The little track that was IRP. I have a feeling that most of this show is going to be about NASCAR. Because here we are again, another week into the season, and another controversial decision, yes, decision that was made by NASCAR. Oh, I love when races end under yellow flags. So much fun. So we're going to talk a lot of NASCAR today. Also, guess what? It is officially Olympic week. Friday, I believe, is when the games start. Who would have thought? Yeah, now you know what this means, right? It is a little unfortunate, but it means we got to pause the NASCAR season. We got a nice 2-week break from the NASCAR Cup Series here as we go into the Olympics. You know, NBC covers most of the Olympics. I'm sure they didn't want to put NASCAR on USA for big races at the end of the year, and I have a feeling it has to do with TV management and media right deals. I doubt it's because NASCAR said, you know what? Let's go ahead and take an Olympic break. We never break. We go maybe 1 or 2 off weeks in an entire year. But this year we're going to take 2 weeks off. Yeah, no, I don't think that was a decision that they consciously made. I think it was forced upon them by, well, the Olympics, which are happening this weekend is when they start. One thing that's not going to stop is the MLB season, which is now back underway after the All-Star break. Games resumed on Friday. And post All-Star break, some news, some players hitting more home runs. Shohei Ohtani hit his 30th home run of the year last night, puts him in an exclusive club on the year. Right now, the only 2 players in baseball who have hit 30 home runs, maybe you guessed it, maybe you didn't, it's Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani. Aaron Judge has played 100 games now on the year, hasn't missed one. 35 home runs in those 100 games. Whoo, hoo, hoo. He has a chance to hit 50 again. 60 might be out of reach at this point unless somehow, some way, the Yankees get really hot. All of these teams post All-Star break are now hitting that beautiful 100-game mark. Yeah, 100 games. There's 162 games in a Major League Baseball season. We still got 62 games to go. Whew. If it feels like it's been a long baseball season, that's because they always are long baseball seasons. Some other things going on in the world of sports. The WNBA All-Star Game was over the weekend. Team USA, the women's national team, went up against the WNBA All-Stars. It was interesting. Big storylines. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese. Whoo, boy. You know, I know the media loves to pit those two against each other, which, if you've been paying attention to the WNBA, that's all they've been doing. The comparison is, who's going to win Rookie of the Year, who's better for their team, who's the better player, who deserved to be on Team USA. And while they both showed off in the All-Star game, Angel Reese with the double-double, Caitlin Clark breaking the all-time assist record in an All-Star game. Now, she broke the assist record in a regular season game leading up to the All-Star break, but now she owns the All-Star assist record as well. You might love watching Caitlin Clark shoot threes, but she is an excellent passer. Very good pick and rolls that they run. There's not many parts of Caitlin Clark's game that are weak. Maybe don't put her on the hood of a race car. If you know, you know. All right, let's get right into things here. Before we even, I have a lot of problems with NASCAR right now. I do, and I think I've made that abundantly clear throughout the entire season. We've had some interesting finishes to races, not interesting. We've had some great finishes. The problem is, it takes us 3 hours to get to those great finishes, and the 3 hours beforehand are horrible, boring. And my fear came true. My fear came true in Indianapolis. If it didn't happen on the restart, and if it didn't happen under pit road, there was not a single green flag pass for the lead. Not one. That's terrible. I mean, NASCAR put on a better parade than Macy's on Sunday. Seriously, this isn't a joke anymore. These cars are terrible. You can't follow in them. You can't get a good enough run to pass somebody who's leading. Are we really going to sit here and say that because Kyle Larson was able to drive through a field that was running half throttle, it was a good race? I have a big problem with that. Was it exciting watching Kyle Larson run through the field? Yeah, it was. But guess what? The entire field was running half throttle. He was the first car with enough gas to make it to the end of the race. So he was just going full throttle and, he's making good moves. I'm not going to take that away from him. Extremely late dive bombs, and they were working. But it's not like everybody was running as hard as they possibly could. Guess what happened when they started running as hard as they possibly could? Brad Keselowski led the field. Blaney couldn't get around him. Larson couldn't get around Blaney. It was an absolute parade at Indianapolis. And, they put the restrictor plates, they put the super speedway package, I should say, on the Xfinity cars this weekend. I think maybe because they didn't want Xfinity to put on a better show than the Cup guys yet again, because it seems like every week the Xfinity race is better. And guess what? Yet again, it was a much more interesting race on the Xfinity side of things. We're coming up on our first commercial break. I'm going to take a deep dive. We are going to go really deep into this NASCAR race at Indianapolis this weekend. It was the last race before the 2-week break. When we come back at Richmond, we're going to have option tires, only a few races to go into the playoffs. It's going to be full steam ahead. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the Cup race at Indianapolis.
More of Sports Director Joe Berg's The Scoreboard is coming up on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Well, finally a week without the big heat being our issue, and some good chances to get some rain, too, as we go throughout the next several days. For our Monday to kick off a new week, we'll call it partly cloudy. Temperatures warming into the mid-80s for the afternoon. We'll keep an eye out for a few scattered showers and thunderstorms for the afternoon. Overnight, we dip it back down to around 70 and kind of rinse and repeat. Mid and upper 80s tomorrow, with a round of scattered showers and storms for the afternoon. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
The app with Lake Norman deals. The WSIC app is out now, wherever you get your apps.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Langtree Live continues their free music series on Thursday. 2 months ago, Ghostface Brewing and Waves Entertainment hosted the Battle of the Bands. The champion that night, Fortune 5, makes their Langtree Live debut this Thursday, July 25th. Come on out to Langtree Lake Norman to see and hear the Battle of the Bands champion, Fortune 5, this Thursday with music beginning at 7 p.m. The Live Under the Oaks concert series continues on Friday at Birkdale Village in Huntersville. Come enjoy the music of the Highway with their dynamic and high-energy show. Red Rocks will have beverages on site, and the Birkdale restaurants are ready for your dinner service. Bring your chairs and blankets for the Highway concert at Birkdale Village on Friday, beginning at 6 p.m. The 8th annual Dog Island Jam takes place this Saturday on Lake Norman. Star from The Voice, John Sullivan presents the summer's must-see concert. Waves Entertainment will bring a stage, sound system, and LED walls to, you guessed it, an island on Lake Norman. Sully and Friends headline the concert on Saturday. Untie your boat or call your friends with boats and enjoy the Dog Island Jam concert on Lake Norman this Saturday. The Cookout Summer Shootout Series at Charlotte Motor Speedway reaches the series finale. The 10-race series title night is on Tuesday, July 30th, with NASCAR night sponsored by the NASCAR Hall of Fame. See the champions crowned and the legends and bandoleros. Don't miss the next generation of racing superstars honing their skills and rising through the ranks. Gates open at 5 p.m. with the green flag waving at 6. Visit CharlotteMotorspeedway.com for tickets, details, and information. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
More than a century ago, Bunch Johnson Funeral Home was founded on compassion. Let us assist you with pre-planning for funerals and cremations. Our family is here when you need us. Bunch Johnson Funeral Home.
24/7 worldwide, non-stop.
WSIC.
Local starts here. The Scoreboard with Joe Berg continues now on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back here on the Scoreboard. We are going big and heavy into the NASCAR Cup Series today. Okay, I got a lot to say. I got a lot on my mind, and I just listened to Elton Sawyer's comments not long ago, a little bit before I came on air here as I was prepping. Oh, God, I have a problem with this. All right, let's take a deep dive here. So we ran 140 horrible laps, where nobody passed for the lead. Really, it was like the top 5. Once you got there, you couldn't pass. Back in the pack, though, there was some movement. You know, once you get bump drafting and side drafting, runs were made. Obviously, a big momentum track, something that we thought was going to happen. And as we heard from William Byron and Denny Hamlin and Ryan Blaney last week about what we were going to expect to see at Indianapolis, it was a lot of, hey, the strategy is going to be important. The strategy is going to be the most important thing. And it was. The problem is that is the only part of the race that made it interesting. That is the only way we got shuffling of the field where cars were going. We didn't see anybody driving through the field. We didn't see anybody really completely falling off the pace either. Kyle Busch started the race in the low 20s. Once he got up into the top 10, he was there. He was stuck in the top 10 because nobody can pass. So NASCAR returns to the oval at Brickyard, and I'm glad they did because it was still better than what would have happened if we would have went to the Indianapolis road course again. And the final stage begins. Fuel is going to be a factor. Some cautions come out. You saw a big crash from William Byron. There were a couple of really big crashes where I was genuinely concerned if the drivers were going to be okay or not. So we had a few crashes, then we have a bunch of fuel saving, and just like we had a few weeks ago at Milwaukee, it was a matter of who's going to have enough gas. And at Nashville, not only Milwaukee, but also at Nashville, we had a fuel race. Who is going to make it? Okay, you saw Joey Logano stretch his fuel an insane amount. Nobody thought he could do that. Well, in the final run, Brad Keselowski was leading, and he was stretching his fuel as well. He had gone over 60 laps on a tank of gas, which is unheard of at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And we're coming to, I believe it was 3 to go. We were coming to 3 to go or so. And Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin get together. The caution comes out. And this is where really all of the mess started. Some cars pit, including Denny Hamlin, who was running in the top 5 for fuel, not because they needed tires or anything, but because they were going to run out of gas. Brad Keselowski, on the other hand, who had been out on the track for the longest amount of time, stayed out on the track. And we're going to NASCAR overtime, which means there's even more laps that this car that was running on fumes needs to complete. So we go through the pace laps, you go to the choose, we come around turn 4, Brad Keselowski on the inside, Ryan Blaney on the outside, Kyle Larson right behind Brad Keselowski. And as we come into the restart, Brad runs out of gas. So he follows the pace car onto pit road. Probably a smart thing to do. Don't want to run out of gas on the racetrack. What that did was it promoted the inside line 1 row up. So Kyle Larson, who was supposed to start 3rd, second car on the inside, ends up starting 1st car on the inside. Now, the weird thing about the rule is when that happens, somebody on the front row pits or runs out of gas or something happens, maybe they drop back. The car who was second on his outside, or inside if he would have chosen the outside, is now the control car. The control car does not become whoever gets promoted up a lane. So Ryan Blaney has control of the restart, and as far as I could tell, Blaney and Larson fired at the same time, with Larson just getting a little bit better jump. And those two drag race into turn 1. Larson's on the inside, so you just know he's going to prevail as we get into turn 1, and they wreck behind him. So now we got to do it all over again. And this is where the mess really began. Blaney's all upset because he thought he was second place on the restart, and then he was all of a sudden the control car on the restart with Kyle Larson on his inside. And obviously, if you knew Brad was going to pull off the track, he would have chose the inside so that he could, be on the inside. That was the only place you can make passes on Sunday, was the inside. So Larson ends up there. They go into turn 1. Larson gets the lead, and they wreck behind him. And Blaney was not happy. Now, I'm going to take a moment to talk about Blaney because I understand why he's unhappy. I get it. It was a really bad situation to be in. You don't want, and if you're Ryan Blaney, you don't want to go right behind Brad Keselowski, even though the inside is the better lane, what if he runs out in the restart box? What if he runs out in turn 1? What if he runs out going down the backstretch? So Blaney chose the outside. The thing is, he wasn't expecting for Keselowski to pull off the track when he did. And I don't know what decision Larson was making there to choose the inside. I honestly thought he was going to go to the outside. But it makes sense in retro, like in hindsight, looking at it, it made sense to take the bottom there because there was absolutely no way the 6 car was going to make it. Now, if there wasn't a green-white checkered, we'd be talking about a very different situation where Brad Keselowski stretches his fuel an insane amount to win the to win the Brickyard 400. That's not how it went down, though. So after that next caution comes out, Kyle Larson, after video review or scoring loop monitors, say he's in the lead, Ryan Blaney's second. And while this is all going on, there's still cars that are low on gas, Ryan Blaney being one of them, and everybody else behind him as well. So we come to the restart. Kyle Larson's on the bottom, where he should be. He gets a good restart. He has the lead going into 1. Okay. And at this point, the race is pretty much over because from what we had seen for 165 laps, you cannot pass the leader unless they pit. And while that's going on, you got Ryan Blaney shaking his car back and forth through the short chute. I mean, it was a mess. Everybody was running out of gas. Well behind Kyle Larson, it looks like Ryan Preece runs out of gas in front of cars, like we thought Brad Keselowski was going to do. And what happened to Preece is he gets punted to the inside of the track. He hits the wall, blows a couple of tires, and he's out of gas. Seemed to me like it would have been a great time to throw a caution. We hadn't taken the white flag yet. Throw it quickly, re-rack it. That way we can get a green flag finish. Well, that's not what NASCAR did. NASCAR held the caution. They held the caution. Ryan Preece does get his car refired, which when he refired, I thought everything was going to be fine. But the video, if you were watching on NBC or USA, because they had to change over to USA, they cut to Ryan Preece spinning his car around and tried to get going. The problem was he had so many flat tires that even when the car was going, it was like 1 mile per hour. No chance he was going to get down the entire length of the backstretch and onto one of the access roads before the leaders got there. So NASCAR waits and waits and waits and waits until the white flag is thrown. Now we're on the last lap. Now we have a car stopped on the backstretch, obviously out of gas, obviously can't move, and you waited almost a full lap to throw the caution flag. Cars go through turn 1. As they get to the short chute going into 2, the caution flies. The race is over. And at that point, I lost my mind. I really did. Because NASCAR sat there, watched a car struggle to get going on a track where we're going 200 miles per hour, and said, yeah, you know what? Let's wait. Let's see if he can get going. You know when the right time to throw the caution was? When Preece had his foot on the floor and the car wasn't moving and you could see it was just spinning the tires, not going anywhere. That was the time to throw the caution. Not to sit there and wait to see, yeah, it looks like his car is destroyed and his tires are flat and he's out of gas, but what if he gets going? An absolutely ridiculous decision by NASCAR. And because of that, they throw the caution on the white flag lap and the race is over. And NASCAR does this to themselves. They open themselves up to this kind of controversy. They've always said in the past, we are going to try to get the race to end in green flag conditions. The last thing we want is for a race to end under a caution. Well, guess what? You had the chance for that not to happen. You didn't take it. This wasn't a situation where daylight was a problem. This was a situation where NASCAR said, you know what? Let's wait. Everybody's running out of gas. We can't throw a caution. I'm fired up about this. We're going to go to commercial, and we'll be right back and continue our NASCAR conversation. Back after this.
Keep it right here. We'll have more of the Scoreboard with Joe Berg in just a moment from 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, finally, a week without the big heat being our issue, and some good chances to get some rain, too, as we go throughout the next several days. For our Monday to kick off a new week, we'll call it partly cloudy. Temperatures warming into the mid-80s for the afternoon. We'll keep an eye out for a few scattered showers and thunderstorms for the afternoon. Overnight, we dip it back down to around 70 and kind of rinse and repeat. Mid and upper 80s tomorrow, with a round of scattered showers and storms for the afternoon. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Bob McIntosh here with the McIntosh Law Firm in Davidson. Serving this community has been a collective passion of our law firm since 1997. We offer the quality legal services and results you would expect from a large downtown firm, but with a personal, community-focused approach right here at home. The McIntosh Law Firm, your local legal resource.
To learn more about the McIntosh Law Firm, visit McIntoshLawFirm.com.
If you need home medical equipment, call Lowry Drug in Statesville. We have everything you need in stock, including portable oxygen concentrators, CPAPs, masks, lift chairs, wheelchairs, scooters, hospital beds, supplies, and anything else you need. Get it when you need it. Check out LowryDrug.com or call 704-873-2247. Lowry Drug, your hometown source since 1959, across from Iredell Memorial Hospital. We are worth the drive. Come see us.
Attention, fellow conservative investors. What does the name Reagan mean to you? It stands for being the ultimate conservative. It also stands for the Reagan Gold Group. Do you see storm clouds approaching? The stock market hates uncertainty, and there are plenty of reasons to be concerned. High inflation, unstable debt, and economic uncertainty are just a few. You have car insurance, homeowners insurance, and life insurance. But do you have insurance for your retirement savings and your 401k? We urge all fellow conservative investors to learn about the one asset that could help ensure your nest egg doesn't crack under economic pressure. G-O-L-D, gold. Call the one name any conservative investor needs to know about. Reagan Gold Group.
800-296-1557. 800-296-1557. 800-296-1557. That's 800-296.
Rev up your dreams with a bike from Tilly Harley-Davidson. Whether you're new to Harley or a seasoned pro, Tilly has the bike for you. Come experience the freedom of the ride. Feel the thrill of the road and the thunder that only a Harley can provide. Stop by Tilly Harley-Davidson of Statesville or go to TillyHD.com.
I'm Bryce Johnson with this Unpacking It Sports and Faith Minute. Sports fans can be loyal to a fault. For instance, sometimes our teams make awful personnel decisions, and deep down we know that, yet we convince ourselves that the team is doing the right things. When it comes to our faith, we also try to convince ourselves that we're doing the right things, even though deep down we know that's not true. We can pretend we're obeying God, while in actuality, we're not producing fruit in our lives. The Bible says, God is light, and there is no darkness in him at all. So we are lying if we say we have fellowship with God, but go on living in spiritual darkness. We are not practicing the truth. We need Jesus' grace to empower us to live our lives in the light. We must repent and leave the darkness behind so we can have fruitful fellowship with him and make wise decisions. Today, let's not waste time trying to convince ourselves of a false reality. Instead, let's stick to the truth and live in the light with Jesus. I'm Bryce Johnson, and you can unpack that. For more, go to unpackingit.com.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Turns out Delta is not ready when you are. The airline says it expects to cancel more flights this week on top of the more than 800 canceled today as it slowly recovers from the CrowdStrike outage, that flawed software update that took out Microsoft Windows computers around the world on Friday. Delta is having difficulty reestablishing its crew tracking system. Call it a half-court shot. Warner Brothers Discovery now is offering to match Amazon's bids for NBA rights. The Sports Business Journal says Warner Brothers Discovery had until the end of today to match the media rights bids from either Amazon or NBC Universal. Reddit, meantime, has a deal with the NBA as well as the NFL, Major League Baseball, PGA, and NASCAR to bring more sports content to the site, including video highlights from games and tournaments. On Wall Street, gains of a third to a little more than 1.5% 1.5%. The Dow up 128, the Nasdaq 281, the S&P 59. Joan Doniger, Bloomberg Radio.
It's the Scoreboard with your host, Sports Director Joe Berg on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Welcome back to the Scoreboard, everyone. 844-STUDIO-4 is the phone number. We are I didn't plan it this way, but we've pretty much only been talking about NASCAR here for the first part of the program. And there's a very good reason for that, because the NASCAR Cup Series and the Xfinity Series were all at Indianapolis this weekend. The Brickyard 400 returning to the Oval for the first time in quite some time. I am going to bring in some comments from everybody's favorite Senior Vice President of Competition, Elton Sawyer, about the decision that they made on when to throw the caution flag at the Brickyard 400.
Yeah, obviously, Alex, we'd like for it to play out naturally. We want our teams to race to the checkered flag. We did everything we possibly could. We kept an eye on the 41. He got turned around. He was really giving a solid effort. And once he came to a stop, and we could tell that he had a flat left rear tire, he wasn't going to move. We'd already taken the white. We just couldn't run by there again. So it was unfortunate, but it was the right call.
Obviously, we saw that it was on the last lap, but would the call have been the same if it was earlier in the race?
I think, when it comes to safety, and we have cars that have spun out and they're trying to make an effort to move, we're going to do everything we can to stay green. But, again, it's a case-by-case basis, and, we'd have to, it's a lot of hypotheticals there.
That is NASCAR Senior Vice President of Competition, Elton Sawyer, on his comments on the end of the race. Okay, no, you absolutely did not do everything you could to get this race to a checkered flag under green flag conditions. Sometimes waiting to see if a guy is going to move or not is not the decision that you need to make to ensure that you are trying everything you can to get to a checkered flag under green. And I agree with Elton Sawyer. They want to do everything that they can for the teams, for the drivers, to race to the checkered flag, not throw a caution. And I get that. And I appreciate that. I do. There's no part of me that says, no, that's a terrible idea. That's a great idea. We should always be trying to race to the checkered flag under green flag conditions, not under caution. The problem is he contradicted himself. Yes, it's a case-by-case basis, but you're not always going to do everything you can to let somebody continue to move down the racetrack when they wreck. It is a case-by-case basis. And in this case, when the camera cut to Ryan Preece and you saw him spin around, try to get going, and was unable to go, that is when you throw the caution. You don't wait to say, you know what, maybe the car will finally start to roll. Because guess what? Even if the car does start to roll when they hit the start-finish line, they're going to be coming down that backstretch at almost 200 miles an hour, and Ryan Preece is going to be limping along, and there's no access road on the backstretch. It's very narrow. It always has been very narrow. So what was the plan? Let's say he does get going and he's going 20 miles an hour down the backstretch. Here comes Kyle Larson at 190 miles an hour. Here comes the rest of the field at 190 miles an hour. What was the plan? And I'm sorry if I seem a little agitated today, because I am. Because every time we talk about NASCAR, it's something that they did that ruins the race. I mean, it was a bad race to begin with. Don't get me wrong. We had 140 laps of absolutely nothing, and then we just got to watch Kyle Larson drive through a field that was running at half throttle. Yeah, it was kind of impressive. You know what would have been more impressive? Is if they were running full speed. They kept showing, hey, look, Brad Keselowski's going half throttle down the backstretch and nobody's passing him. That means everybody else is doing it. They kept saying that. And then they kept saying on the broadcast, oh my goodness, look at Kyle Larson go. He's making these outrageous moves. You can't have it both ways. The field was running half throttle. Was it impressive that he came from 23rd to 3rd on his final run? Yeah, it was impressive. But it wasn't absolutely groundbreaking because nobody was running full throttle. He was the only car. He was the first car, I should say, because Tyler Reddick was following him the whole time. He was the first car who knew he can make it on gas and push. And that's why he was able to pass. Other than that, if everybody was full on gas on the last 20 laps of the race and nobody had to worry, Kyle Larson's probably finishing in the mid-teens. Let's be very honest about that. I don't want to talk too much more NASCAR, but this is what I'm talking about. And you can't just have a black and white, this is a yellow, and this is not a yellow flag. Because we've seen times where a car does a full 360 and keeps going. No damage, nobody's involved. Should that be a caution? No, I don't think so. And Ryan Preece hit the wall very softly. Yes, but his tires are flat. And guess what? The reason he got spun from behind is because he was out of gas. I don't understand what NASCAR's decision-making process is, and I get that in the moment, it could be hard to throw that caution as the cars are coming out of 4. I fully expected Kyle Larson to pass the pit entrance and the caution to come out. That's what I was expecting to happen because we've seen NASCAR throw a caution right before the white flag is taken. In the All-Star race, we saw them throw a caution flag right before the checkered flag was taken because there was a car in the fence. And I mean inches before the checkered flag was thrown. No consistency whatsoever. There hasn't been consistency in NASCAR officiating ever. But it might just be me, but it feels like this year is a lot worse. I want to end the NASCAR talk on the final point, and that is, what should NASCAR do if a driver runs out of gas coming to the green after you've already made the choose? Nothing. I don't think they should call off the restart, and I understand Ryan Blaney's frustration. He was just unlucky. And sometimes in sports, you get unlucky. That doesn't mean you go changing a rule because of it. It almost seems like anytime something remotely controversial happens in NASCAR, if a driver complains about it enough, they're going to change something. Who's running NASCAR? Is it the drivers or is it NASCAR themselves? So I would really hope that nothing changes in terms of if a car runs out of gas after the choose cone, because that's part of the strategy, in my opinion. You know that the guy in front of you is going to run out of gas at any moment. So where do you want to line up? Do you want to line up behind him? Or do you want to line up next to him, but not in the preferred groove? Blaney chose the latter. And it turned out that was the reason he wasn't a Brickyard 400 champion. Kyle Larson gets to kiss the bricks at Indianapolis, and then after he won, he all but guaranteed he'll be running the Indianapolis 500 in May again. So we have that to look forward to. And honestly, I have a feeling he could win the thing. He ran really good in his first attempt. Only was out of contention because of a speeding penalty. All right, we're going to head to our final commercial break of the day. We'll get into some news, some WNBA stuff, anything else that was on the docket for today that I've kind of pushed on the back burner because we had such a terrible, terrible result in the NASCAR race. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this.
sports director Joe Berg's The Scoreboard is coming up on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, finally, a week without the big heat being our issue, and some good chances to get some rain, too, as we go throughout the next several days. For our Monday to kick off a new week, we'll call it partly cloudy. Temperatures warming into the mid-80s for the afternoon. We'll keep an eye out for a few scattered showers and thunderstorms for the afternoon. Overnight, we dip it back down to around 70 and kind of rinse and repeat. Mid and upper 80s tomorrow with a round of scattered showers and storms for the afternoon. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Langtree Live continues their free music series on Thursday. 2 months ago, Ghostface Brewing and Waves Entertainment hosted the Battle of the Bands. The champion that night, Fortune 5, makes their Langtree Live debut this Thursday, July 25th. Come on out to Langtree Lake Norman to see and hear the Battle of the Bands champion, Fortune 5, this Thursday with music beginning at 7 p.m. The Live Under the Oaks concert series continues on Friday at Birkdale Village in Huntersville. Come enjoy the music of The Highway with their dynamic and high-energy show. Red Rocks will have beverages on site, and the Birkdale restaurants are ready for your dinner service. Bring your chairs and blankets for the Highway concert at Birkdale Village on Friday, beginning at 6 p.m. The 8th annual Dog Island Jam takes place this Saturday on Lake Norman. Star from The Voice, John Sullivan presents the summer's must-see concert. Waves Entertainment will bring a stage, sound system, and LED walls to, you guessed it, an island on Lake Norman. Sully and Friends headline the concert on Saturday. Untie your boat or call your friends with boats and enjoy the Dog Island Jam concert on Lake Norman this Saturday. The Cookout Summer Shootout Series at Charlotte Motor Speedway reaches the series finale. The 10-race series title night is on Tuesday, July 30th, with NASCAR night sponsored by the NASCAR Hall of Fame. See the champions crowned and the legends and bandoleros. Don't miss the next generation of racing superstars honing their skills and rising through the ranks. Gates open at 5 p.m. with the green flag waving at 6. Visit charlottemotorspeedway.com for tickets, details, and information. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
Temperatures are heating up, but the prices are cooling down at Randy Marion Ford Lincoln here in Statesville. How about this? Over $8,000 off F-150s. That's the XLT trim, that's the Lariat trim, that's the Platinum trim, that's the Limited trim. That is the Crew Cab, that is the Super Cab. You name it, Randy Marion Ford. We got it right here in Statesville at a big discount on F-150s. Again, over $8,000 off. Come see us today, I-77, exit 49B.
Now more of The Scoreboard with Joe Berg on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, final segment on The Scoreboard. 844 Studio 4. We're done with NASCAR. We're done talking about that. Okay? Because it's just annoying to me. Quick little standings update for you, though. Even though Kyle Larson missed a race, he is our point leader over Chase Elliott by 10 points. Then you have Tyler Reddick, Denny Hamlin, and Ryan Blaney has now moved into the top 5. William Byron, Martin Truex Jr., Christopher Bell, Brad Keselowski, and Alex Bowman round out your top 5. The playoff picture is getting tighter after that race. Bubba Wallace had a pretty good result at the Brickyard. He moved 7 points behind Ross Chastain. Now, there's only 4 races remaining in the season, and there are still 4 points spots open. So the most new winners that we could have this year is 16, which means if somebody does win a race who hasn't won yet, maybe 4 new drivers win a race. If 4 new drivers win a race, well then you're not going to see anybody point their way in. Bubba Wallace is 7 points back of the cut line. Chase Briscoe, 83 points behind. And then after that, everybody's over 100. The last 4 drivers in on points right now are Martin Truex Jr., Ty Gibbs, Chris Buescher, and Ross Chastain. The NASCAR Cup Series is going to be taking a break as we head into the Olympics. The next race is going to be Sunday, August 11th. Yes, August 11th, when the NASCAR Cup Series and NASCAR Xfinity Series both head to Richmond. We have Olympic coverage that we're going to be doing. We're going to be talking about a lot of things going on there. I know Team USA basketball over the weekend. Oh my goodness. The men's team. They almost lost to South Sudan, who they were over a 45-point favorite to beat. There's something about being expected to win that always makes me nervous. When you are expected to be the best team there and you are expected to win, that is when people get nervous. You know, the expectation levels are so high that you don't want to mess up. And I'm hoping that it's just a qualifier thing with Team USA, as, you know, they're probably not trying their hardest right now, although I would hope that they are, considering the Olympics are less than a week away. They're this week. So we'll be talking a lot about what's going on in the world of the Olympics, as it only happens, well, the Summer Olympics only happen every 4 years. I'll tell you what, though. I personally like winter better because, well, you get to see the Olympic hockey. Olympic hockey is a ton of fun, and this time, in 2026, the NHL guys are going to be participating. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then in the next Summer Olympics, baseball should be back. I know one thing that's new this year that I talked about on WSIC, like back in 2020, is breakdancing. Yeah, breakdancing is going to be an Olympic sport. You know what I think should be an Olympic sport? I went out to eat the other night, and I'm looking at the bar area. You know, I'm in a booth. I was looking at the TV over the bar, and they had electric scooter racing and this is not a joke, like electric scooter racing. These guys couldn't have been going more than 15 miles an hour. But they were leaning that thing, and it was some electric scooter racing. And then I asked the guy, I was like, man, I'm fascinated by this electric scooter racing right now. And his response was, oh yeah, you should have been here yesterday. We had professional pillow fighting on. And I kind of I almost took a step back and said, you had professional what on? So the server walked away, and I immediately go to my phone. There is professional pillow fighting. It's the PFC, the Pillow Fighting Championship. And I'm sitting there pulling up highlights. There was an actual highlight reel of this sport. And these guys, like, let me tell you, it's in a boxing ring, which I think is hilarious. And they got these pillows. I was seeing people two-handed jump, have the pillow over the back of their head, and as they come down, just try to hit the guy as hard as they could. It was hilarious watching that. And then I found out about a new sport. Not new, but it's new to me. It's a Gaelic Ireland game, okay? It's called hurling. No, not throwing up. No, not throwing up. It's called hurling, where you play with a ball and this thing that looks like a bat, and there's a soccer goal with a football goalpost over top of it. I was watching highlights of that thing. Man, I don't know how, but we need to get hurling in the Olympics. That looked like one of the most riveting things. Like, it was electric, the stadium. A guy hit it through the uprights from beyond half field, and I'm pretty sure that the field regulation is close to a soccer field. Hurling. It is one of Ireland's native Gaelic games and shares a number of features with Gaelic football, such as field goals and goals. There are 15 players on each side, and it's full contact. I really hope that you take a minute to look up hurling. Go on YouTube, not throwing up. Please look up hurling the sport. Otherwise, you might get some weird results, okay? But it is an outdoor game of ancient Gaelic Irish origin. I really hope that somehow, some way, that thing makes it to the Olympics, because that looks like fun. As we approach the end of the program here, we're only a few minutes away from the end today, huh? Man, it was a interesting day. We spent quite a bit of time talking about what happened in the NASCAR Cup Series race at Indianapolis. And I didn't even get to the Xfinity race, which featured a 3-wide pass on the white flag. Guess what happened in the Xfinity race? Real quick, before we go to this day in sports history. The final 3 laps of the race were led by 3 different drivers. There were more green flag lead changes in 3 laps in the Xfinity race than there was an entire 167 race Cup race. Xfinity is the way to watch, man. I'm telling you, those Xfinity drivers, they're fun to watch. All right, let's get into this day in sports history. We're going to go with some recent stuff. 2019, only 5 years ago, the Dallas Cowboys were named the most valuable sports team in the world, worth over $5 billion. Makes absolutely no sense to me. They haven't won a championship in forever. In my lifetime, I'm pretty sure they haven't won a championship. So I don't know how they can be the most valuable sports franchise, but hey, they are. That was in 2019. I'm sure the Cowboys are worth triple that now. On this day in 1994, former NFL running back O.J. Simpson pleads absolutely 100% not guilty of murder. That is the quote. Absolutely 100% not guilty. It was also on this day. I think I just lost all of my this day in history that I pulled up for you guys. There it is. Okay. It was also on this day in 1993. Don Mattingly hit his 200th career home run. And here's one that's probably going to age some people. 1990, Phil Mickelson won the U.S. Golf Amateur Championship. Amateur Championship in 1990. That was on this day. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in today. You get 2 weeks without the NASCAR talk, so I hope everybody's happy. That was probably a good way to end the NASCAR talk here on the scoreboard, but we might bring it up tomorrow a little bit. I did want to talk about the Xfinity race a little bit. We'll just kind of see what happens. We didn't get into the WNBA today. Man, I am not happy with NASCAR, and that's really all that needs to be said. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in on this Monday. I hope you made it home safe, even with all my yelling and anger. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Until then, have a good night, everyone.